Welcome to episode 5 of our Ankara Blouse Masterclass. So, in this episode, I am going to walk you through how I achieved the sleeve. First, I am folding this Ankara piece into two, that's widthwise. So, folded into two equal halves, I have about 22.5 inches on fold here. So, I'm going to rule out this upper part so that everything is smooth. It's not particularly straight at the moment, and I am going to cut that out as you can see. Next, we are going to mark the sleeve length. So the sleeve length I'm actually working with is 11 inches, but because I'm going to be smoking this, I will add extra 11 inches to it, so it's like my sleeve length times 2. So I'm marking 22 inches for the sleeve length, and then the width is the entire width of the Ankara, which gave me about 22.5 inches. Now this is for one sleeve. We're going to cut this out now, place it on a fresh piece and cut the second sleeve. Next thing, I'm going to iron this hemming gum. Did I say hemming gum? This medium gum stay on all the pieces, which I have done, and this is what we have. So at the top here, I am marking 1 inch all the way, and then on the side also I will mark 1 inch in, and then I will get my blouse and place the armhole touching these 2 points, and I'll trace out that curve as you can see. So after tracing out the curve, the next step is to cut that out. And then I will go ahead and draw out my patterns. Okay, first I'm cutting out the lining. We also need the lining for this. This lining is going to help hold this sleeve in shape where it's supposed to be at all times. So placing the lining is also folded into two. So placing the sleeve piece on it, I will cut out the top like so, and also the armhole. After which I am going to mark 12 inches, which is my sleeve length plus extra 1 inch. I will mark that all the way. So the lining is not going to be as long as the main sleeve. The lining is my actual sleeve length plus 1, which is 12 inches in this case. Then I'm marking my sleeve round measurement, which is 6.5 inches plus another 1 inch for sewing allowance on this down part, and then I'm connecting back to the armhole or to the sleeve opening side in a slant like this. So I'm going ahead to cut. So my sleeve round measurement is actually 12 inches divided by 2, that should be 6, but I added extra to it, so instead of 12 inches I'm using 13 inches divided by 2, which is 6.5. So I'm cutting the second lining piece also like this. And then we are going to notch the upper part, the center points like so. So for the sleeve piece now, we are going to draw out the pattern that we'll be using. Now there are so many patterns for this Canadian smoking depending on what you want. So for me, first I'm just marking out 1 inch, which is like my allowance. So I just mark out 1 inch on all the sides. So this down part, I'll mark 1 inch off. I'll also mark 1 inch on this side, both of the sides, and then 1 inch also at the top. So these parts are marking a part where the smoking is not going to get to. And also on this side that is going to be attached to the blouse, I'm also marking out 1 inch there. So for my smoking pattern, I am using 4 inches apart. You can use 2. In fact, it is 2 I wanted, but thinking of how many times I will need to tack, I decided to just settle for 4. So I finished faster because at this point, my tired was tired. So I'm marking 4 inches all the way. This end part didn't give me up to 4 inches, so I just left it at what it is. So I'm connecting all the way to the top like this, all the way to the top, all the way to the top. Then we're going to go now to the side again and repeat the same thing. So on the side also, we're going to mark 4 inches intervals all the way, and then we'll also connect the same way we did. So for this, I'll mark 4, I'll mark 8, I will mark 12, I will mark 16, like that. Then I did the same thing for at somewhere in the middle so that I can connect my lines more easily. So I'll do that at 3 points and then go back. So using my ruler now, I will now connect all these points together. So now I have boxes, should I say squares, 4 inch squares all over my sleeve piece. The next thing now, I'm going to make slants according to how I will tack this. So I'm making a slant like so. I'm leaving a box in between, and then I'm making another slant. I'm leaving a whole roll in between, and then I'm making more slants, making sure that where the slant is opposite. Like there's so many patterns, I will leave pictures of many of them on the screen so that you can pick the one that you want. I just went for this one. This is the one I could remember in the instance. So any pattern you want, that is what you use, how you want it to appear at the end of the day. The smaller the squares, the finer it looks. So I will pick with my needle and thread here, and then pick this part again, and then make a knot so tightly, and then tie it together, making sure that it is very tight so it doesn't lose, like come off easily. So I will knot this in place. Then go to the next part and repeat the same thing. Pick one end and then pick the other end, tack it down, sew it like 2 or 3 times so that it's tight, make a knot, and then continue. The same thing for this other one again. Come back, do the same thing, make the knot, tie it down, sew tightly, and move to the next one. So we're going to repeat the same process on this entire sleeve piece, and then the same process on the second sleeve piece completely. Now you see why I added ×2 of the sleeve length, so that at the end of the day I still have my 11 inches that I am looking for. So after doing all of this pattern, you're going to have something like this. This is the right side. This is what we have. It looks fine. It would have been finer if the boxes were smaller, but this is still fine. This is okay. So next, now we're going to place the lining piece right sides together at the top. This is the armhole part now that's matching. So place it like so. We're going to go sew it right sides together using 1/2 inch. We will go and sew that down. After sewing, turn it to the wrong side like so, and then we'll go back and sew like 1/2 inch in. This is to form a casing for our elastic to pass through later on. So like this, after it is well arranged, you can also iron, go back and sew 1/2 inch. You can mark it first, sew 1/2 inch like that all the way to the end, and this is what we have. Next, now we're going to turn this back to the right side like this, and then remember our sleeve opening space, that's 6.5, and then this is it I have marked now, plus the extra 1 inch for allowance. So we're going to place this such that it starts from that allowance point, but then we'll start making pleats from the second line. So we're going to pleat this entire main fabric piece into the lining piece, starting from that line, the first line, and then also ending on the second, on the first line on the opposite side. But I make sure that the pleats start from the inside line, that's the actual sleeve line, and not the allowance. I don't know if you understand. So we're going to just pleat this into the space, make small pleat. My pin is even struggling to pass through, but just pin it so that they are both now the same, after which I went to sew, and this is what we have. I'm taking out the pins now, as you can see, and after that we are going to turn it back to the right side. My gum stay is lifting, after which the next thing now is to sew the sleeve pieces, sew this wonder sew the sleeve piece right sides together. But when you do that, fold it right sides together, but don't sew together with the lining. Sew only the main fabric to the main fabric, like this, and then lining to lining only. That way when you're done, you have this perfect inseam finishing. So because of the tacking, it's not particularly straight, but it is very possible. So just keep arranging and sewing as you go. After which, this is what we have. The next step now is to add an elastic to the upper part of the sleeve. Now here I was measuring 8 inches for my elastic length, but I later reduced that to 5 inches such that when I wear it, the sleeve stretches my elastic to its limit. So I use 5-inch length of elastic all in all for both of my sleeves. You know, you have two sleeves, so whatever you do here is the same thing you're doing for the second sleeve. So using my safety pin now, I went ahead to pass the elastic piece into this space. I also make sure to pin it on one side so that I don't do double work. I pin it all the way to the other end and also pin it by the time we're done. So next now we are going to join this sleeve to the blouse piece. So this is our blouse now. On the armhole part, we are going to lift the lining out of the way and then hold this sleeve piece. For the sleeve piece, it is both the lining and the main fabric. So cut out the excess on the inside as the seam allowance. Cut a bit of the excess away to avoid bulk. Then hold the lining and the main fabric of the sleeve together, but pin it only on the main fabric of the blouse. Pull the lining piece of the blouse out of the way. We are sewing only to this piece. So we're going to pin like this all the way to this top, very top. Pin. Then the rest of the sleeve, pin into that space also. Then you're going to go now and sew this on, go to the machine now and sew using 1/2 inch of allowance. Make sure that everything is aligned and I am not touching the lining. So after sewing, this is what we have. So now we're going to push the raw edges in and then fold the lining over it like so. Then I'll use my thread and needle to make invisible stitches all around the armhole so that everything is clean. Another option, you can also use a bias tape or you can weave at this point, but I wanted it perfect, so I am using my needle and my thread to run invisible stitches all over this armhole part so that everything is clean and is smooth. After that, our blouse is ready. So this is what we have on the right side, and this is what we have on the inside. So I'm going to post the final episode of me wearing this blouse, and I will leave the link in the description box below. You will not have to wait this time. It's right there on the channel already. Thank you for watching.